Hey guys, and welcome to week 2 of phase 2 of the Invictus Bodyweight Training Guide. You may remember that in phase 1 this week, we asked you a very important question, which is, what is your why? And I know this is one of those corny questions of fitness, nutrition, and health that can be overlooked as something that's a little bit more on the spiritual side of things and isn't really pertinent to our actual physical goals because it's a generality. But when we ask your why, not only are we looking for SMART goals, which as we mentioned in that phase 1 are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So we want something that you could track by metric, but they're also something that have a greater purpose than a simple goal such as I want to lose 10 pounds. The reason for that isn't that I want to lose 10 pounds is a bad goal. Certainly for some people that is an extremely necessary goal and something that can make them feel much more confident and capable and more comfortable in their skin. But because of the dialogue that's run by body acceptance in our society and so often our feelings about ourselves, it's important to have not only multiple reasons, both SMART and larger than SMART, but also an underlying vision of ourselves that we can consider a goal. So when I visualize the ideal version of myself, it can get kind of embarrassing. I remember previously when I first started training, that version of myself was whatever I would visualize or daydream when I was running on cardio equipment, because that's how I wanted to see myself. That's how I wanted others to see me. That was the performance standpoint that I viewed myself in. And I had to ask myself, what was I doing when I would daydream about that perfect version of myself or what have you? And usually it was something athletic. Growing up, I wasn't the most athletically capable by any means. I had crippling performance anxiety that still comes to light frequently. Like, I'll tell clients that when I go to a new gym, even now, if I'm feeling some type of way on a particular day, I will go to the parking lot, park, wait, and leave if I'm not feeling it. That can happen for days because I won't be intuitive about that vision of myself that I have that's outside of that moment. And that's translative in all of my actions, my food decisions, how hard I push in a workout. If I don't have a intuitive why and realistic vision of myself, then I lose track of what I'm doing in my initiatives to get there. Everything that we do, as Jocko Willink says, is either an action that's one step closer to our goal or one step further from it. So having something is a really important set point, because if we don't have a location setting, we don't know what route to take to get there. That being said, if you haven't thought of one yet, you might want to take a pen and paper and jot down a couple of ideas right now. Again, some SMART goals, so maybe some metrics like I'd like to lose a couple of inches off my waist. How many? Do you want to lose 3 inches? Have you ever measured your waist? These are things that you should be looking at. I like body fat, I think is a great way to look at what is your composition and how can you make that more favorable. It directly correlates to health as well. And then to look at some overall goals. So that athletic vision that I had of myself, maybe in that one I was dancing really well. I know, embarrassing, but I say that for a reason because we all have these feelings. Or maybe I was a really fast runner, or maybe I was lifting in a way that was strong and empowering. And what did I like about that vision of myself or that aspect of athleticism? And how much weight was I moving? How fast was I running? What type of dance was I doing? And how do I move towards that to find if that's something that I really want to see for myself? So aside from that, I need to talk to you guys about mobility. So that's going to be a big focus this week. We have a video just about every single day with 3 movements that I'd like for you to emphasize, because last week we talked about the beginnings of our foundational strength programming, our squats, our deadlifts, our overhead press, and there's more to come, of course, with that. We have to talk about priming your body in order to make it functionally capable, because if we just keep tagging weight on you and you can't even move well, we're setting ourselves up for a pretty high risk of injury. So what we do is we bring to light where your movement patterns are suffering and how to make them more functional. We're going to be doing that through a variety of movements that you'll see throughout the week, But one thing that I would like to stress, because I know how easy it is to avoid these movements altogether, there's a much higher risk of you guys not clicking on the mobility video and just going for the workout, because for whatever reason, it's a driven approach that we should just do the calorie burn and not the recovery. But for every workout that we do, we should be recovering twice as hard to make sure that as we progress, we're able to continue to take on the challenges that we present to our body. One of those interesting things. So, thinking about it, I want to present you with a rubber band analogy, or hair tie analogy, where when we stretch, most of the time we do static stretching. Maybe I hold my tricep in a stretch like this, which just feels really good. This is a great recovery movement, but not a great primer movement. What I mean by that is that if I have my hair tie here and I hold it out to you stretched, I mean, all of you probably don't use hair ties, but I'm sure you've used a rubber band before. If I keep holding this like this for long enough, it's going to become over elastic. And then when I go to tie my hair, it's going to be far too loose. Whereas if instead I stretched it like this, it's just facilitating its normal function. You know, it's not going to overstretch nearly as quickly as it would if I just held it right out. So static stretch, dynamic stretch. All warm-up or primer stretches should be stretch in motion. Even what would be a static tricep stretch, if you simply pulse it without holding it, you can improve upon the risk that you may have had to make a muscle group over elastic. And why that's so important is because this isn't necessarily biomechanically correct. If you consider your hamstring as a portion of your posterior chain that helps to mitigate some of the impact damage done to your patella or your kneecap when you run, think about your hamstring netting down through attached ligaments and so on by almost like a sash that catches your patella. So if that hamstring's moving every time you take a foot strike, every time you extend your leg and start to draw back, if you overstretch that band and it misses the patella by even a micro movement, you're going to have some pretty high impact injury risk. The same thing can be said for spinal erectors, for keeping your lumbar spine safe, and really just about every aspect of our body. So looking at that, very important dynamic stretching, very important static stretching and recovery, and very important finding a reason for everything that we do. I know this is a little bit of a run-on video, but I'm really excited to bring you this week and to build on the challenges of our first phase. So let's get after it. Have so much fun. Oh, wait, one last thing. If you are looking for an additional resource to mobility, something that's a little bit more comprehensive than the topics that I touch on, and a great reference guide that's extremely affordable, I would highly advocate that you guys pick up the Modern Art and Science of Mobility. I love this guide so much, and much of what we have this week is drawn from this. It talks about a lot of foundational principles that come from things like Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu, just great movement arts, and it is extremely well visually stimulating, and provides all the tools that you'll need to be fully functioning adults. So check this out. I can definitely drop a link in the bio below. It is extremely affordable, worth picking up without a doubt. Okay, that's it. I'll let you guys go. Have so much